Millennial. Millennial to power, millennial, good morning, namaskar. Millennial to power, millennial, good morning, namaskar. This is Engineer Suraj Singh speaking from Bharat, India on this day. Last day of April 30, that's 30, April 30, 2022, Saturday, 3:41 AM. Little late I started. मैं सूरज सिंह सिविल इंजीनियर भारत इंडिया से बोल रहा हूँ। आज दिनांक 30 अप्रैल 2022 शनिवार सुबह के 3:41। टॉपिक ऑफ टॉक इज सेम एज यूजुअल, नथिंग न्यू इज रिक्वेस्ट। रियल क्वालिटी रिक्वायरमेंट इज बोथ हिंदी एंड इंग्लिश, दोनों हिंदी और इंग्लिश में। कोऑर्डिनेशन इंजीनियरिंग ओनली वे प्रोजेक्ट वर्क्स डिजाइंस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स रिलायबल इंजीनियर्स पावर ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन कॉन्क्रीट स्पेसिफिकेशंस civil engineering SHE is safety health and environment mathematics disputes claims what do we do, and in Hindi it is वास्तविक क्वालिटी वास्तविक गुणवत्ता क्या है। ये बात मैं आपसे हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों में करूँगा, कुछ हिंदी में कुछ इंग्लिश में। और तालमेल क्या है, और ये अभियांत्रिकी ही एक रास्ता है। योजनाएं क्या होती हैं, डिज़ाइंस क्या होता है, कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स क्या होता है, और वास्तविकता में वो अभियंता जिनके ऊपर हम निर्भर कर सकते हैं वो क्या होते हैं। संचार माध्यम क्या होता है, और कंक्रीट किसे कहते हैं, उसमें क्या होना चाहिए। सिविल इंजीनियरिंग क्या है, सौर सुरक्षा से कैसे काम करें, सेफ्टी से कैसे काम करें, किस तरह से काम किए जाएं, और झगड़े हो जाएं तो कैसे सुलझाए जाएं। ये सब बातें होंगी इसमें आज की टॉक में, कुछ इधर से कुछ उधर से। अगर सिग्नल्स मिलते रहे तो चलता रहेगा, नहीं मिले तो अलग बात है। ये मेरे सर्टिफिकेट्स, यू कैन सी माई सर्टिफिकेट्स। माई ईमेल एड्रेस दिस suraj suraj_engineer@yahoo.co.uk, suraj_engineer@yahoo.uk. This is civil engineering, arbitration engineer, international professional engineer, and chartered engineer. And next one is arbitration certificate, arbitration engineer, which is of course a kind of international certificate. And this is given to only senior people, and this is international professional engineer India Bharat, and this is chartered engineer certificate, and this is quality file here, and chartered engineer I close arbitration certificate. I talk of quality file. What I talk about quality, because quality is very very important one. गुणवत्ता के बिना हम सांस भी नहीं ले सकते, समझना चाहिए। गुणवत्ता क्या हम कर रहे हैं, आर वी गेटिंग क्वालिटी इन लाइफ, आर वी गेटिंग दैट्स अ क्वेश्चन मार्क वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड। आर वी रियली वर्किंग ऑन क्वालिटी, और वी आर स्लीपिंग पीपल, दैट पॉइंट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड वेरी क्लियरली। हम क्या वास्तविकता में क्वालिटी की दौड़ में आगे हैं या पीछे हैं, या हैं ही नहीं। आर वी इन रन फॉर क्वालिटी, और वी डू नॉट रन एट ऑल। ये वास्तविकता है हमारे देश की, भारत की, इंडिया कि हम क्वालिटी में सोए हुए हैं। हम प्रोडक्शन की तरफ तो भागना चाहते हैं, जीडीपी तो लेना चाहते हैं, लेकिन क्वालिटी में हम बिल्कुल माइनस हैं, बिल्कुल माइनस है ही नहीं। गुणवत्ता क्या है, व्हाट इज़ क्वालिटी, वी डोंट अंडरस्टैंड, हम नहीं समझते। मैं ये नहीं कहता हम नहीं समझते, मैं आई कैन नॉट से दैट वी कैन नॉट अंडरस्टैंड, बट वी डू नॉट वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड, वी डू नॉट वांट टू हैव efforts, we don't have to apply efforts there, we are not at all proactive। हम अपने आप आगे नहीं चल सकते क्वालिटी में जब तक कि हमको पुश ना किया जाए। until we are pushed we cannot move towards destination of quality, and that is our weakness, और यही हमारी कमी है। क्वालिटी हर व्यक्ति में होनी चाहिए, एवरी इंडिविजुअल शुड हैव क्वालिटी, एंड दैट्स व्हाट इज़ रिक्वायर्ड, और उसकी आवश्यकता है। Every individual including engineer and technical people should understand what is value of quality। हर अभियंता को, हर उसके कर्मचारी को, उसके कार्य साथियों को सोचना होगा कि गुणवत्ता प्राप्त करना कितना आवश्यक है, और अगर आप नहीं प्राप्त करेंगे तो आप कितना बड़ा नुकसान करेंगे। इफ़ यू डोंट ट्राई टू गेट क्वालिटी, यू डू नॉट नो व्हाट वैल्यू ऑफ वर्क यू विल लूज, व्हाट कैरेक्टर यू विल लूज, व्हाट पर्सनैलिटी यू विल लूज, एंड व्हाट प्रोजेक्ट वैल्यू यू विल लूज। आप हर तरह से नुकसान में होंगे अगर आप क्वालिटी की बात को नहीं समझना चाहते। वास्तविक क्वालिटी क्या है, व्हाट इज़ रियल क्वालिटी एंड रियल कोऑर्डिनेशन, दिस आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इश्यूज। आई एम सॉरी टू से दैट देयर एक्जिस्ट नो क्वालिटी एट ऑल इन एनी फील्ड इन आवर कंट्री, एंड ऑफ कोर्स कोऑर्डिनेशन डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट एट ऑल इन एनी सेक्टर इन आवर कंट्री। हमारे देश में ना तालमेल आज की तारीख में है, ना कोई गुणवत्ता है। जनरल तौर पे, आमतौर पे, सामान्य रूप से मैं कह रहा हूँ, जस्ट टेलिंग दिस जनरलिटी, आई एम नॉट सेइंग फॉर एवरीवन, सम देयर आर सम स्पेसिफिक एरियाज Yeah, there could be secret quality, but here I'm saying for people in general, there is no quality at all. सच कहिए तो आम लाइफ में क्वालिटी नाम की कोई चीज़ नहीं है. किसी को भी काम दे दो, कैसा भी कोई काम कर दो, चलता बने, कल के पैसे ले ले, हो गया काम, बस मुझे कोई लेना देना नहीं है आपकी गुणवत्ता से, मैंने काम करके दे दिया, मुझे पैसा दे दो. कोई ठेकेदार, कोई कंपनी, कोई ऑर्गेनाइजेशन, एवरी कॉन्ट्रैक्टिंग कंपनी, एवरी विच दे claim to be professional, they are not at all professional. To an extent quality is concerned, they may be professional. To an extent quantity is concerned, to an extent bureaucracy is concerned, to an extent that they want to rob people of their monies. That way I can say there's no problem at all, but quality does not stand there at all, and that is a worrisome issue. We have to be very serious about that issue. That point is here, I am here to discuss with you. मैं इसीलिए यहाँ आपके साथ हूँ, आपसे बात करने के लिए कि हम क्या खो रहे हैं, हम क्या पा रहे हैं. ना तो हम क्वालिटी पा रहे हैं, और क्योंकि हम गुणवत्ता नहीं पा रहे तो इसलिए हम क्वांटिटी भी नहीं पा रहे. आवर क्वांटिटी इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे, अंतर्राष्ट्रीय लेवल पे बेकार है. आवर क्वालिटी इज़ नॉट इक्वल टू इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स और इवन टू नेशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स. आवर स्टैंडर्ड्स ओनली फॉर नेम सेक, बट पीपल डू नॉट डू दैट. And particularly in the engineering world, because engineering is life और engineering is development and engineering is nation. You can say अभियांत्रिकी ही देश का निर्माण करती है, अभियांत्रिकी ही देश की उपज करती है, अभियांत्रिकी ही देश को आगे चलाती है, GDP बढ़ाती है. अब किसी भी सेक्टर में ले लीजिए, you can take any sector in this area, you can count on any point, on every point on GDP, you will find that we stand nowhere. And this is actually educational defect, this is practical defect, this is individual defect, this is thinking defect, this is concentration defect, this is coordination defect. You can say whatever point we consider, everywhere we find some defects, and these defects have to go. ये जो कमियां हैं हर जगह, हम जो कह रहे हैं कमियां हैं, कमियां कैसे आगे जाएंगी, कैसे हम इनको हटाएंगे? ये बात सोचने की नहीं है, करने की है. सोचेंगे तो करेंगे. We have to think first, and then we have to think, because we are thinking power. We can think. We are lot and lot of educated youth in our country, educated middle people in our country, educated seniors in our country, in every field of life, in every walk of life. Even then we are not able to do that. And what's reason? I think reason is people are not proactive. People do not have seriousness to an extent quality and coordination is concerned. लोग गंभीर नहीं है इस बात को जानने के लिए कि गुणवत्ता को कैसे प्राप्त किया जाए, गुणवत्ता कैसे दी जाए हर काम में, और इसीलिए आगे बढ़ने के लिए हमें सोचना होगा. कोऑर्डिनेशन लोग नहीं करते, मैंने देखा है. सब तालमेल नहीं बैठाते, बस आँख बंद करके, दिमाग बंद करके बैठे रहो, अपने आप काम हो जाएगा. दिस इज़ वेरी सीरियस इशू, बहुत गंभीर विषय है ये. हमको उसको समझना होगा, और हम नहीं समझेंगे तो अपना नुकसान करेंगे, किसी और का नहीं. ये बात समझनी बहुत ज़रूरी है. हम नहीं समझेंगे तो नुकसान तो उठाएंगे ही. दैट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड वेरी वेल. Well, I'm not forcing anybody to listen to what I'm saying. मैं किसी को दबाव नहीं डाल सकता, ना डाल रहा हूँ. आप मेरी बात को सुने, आपको अच्छा लगता है तो सुने, क्योंकि ये मेरा खाली प्रश्न नहीं है, ये मैं सब के लिए बात कर रहा हूँ. आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस फॉर एवरीवन इन आवर कंट्री, बिकॉज क्वालिटी अप्लाइज. Quality is required by everyone, for everyone, and for nation. It may be in private sector, corporate sector, government sector, or freelancing person. If you can't give quality, there should be no value for you. आप चाहे सरकारी में हो, आप चाहे कॉर्पोरेट वर्ल्ड में हो, प्राइवेट सेक्टर में हो, या फ्रीलांसिंग, या कहीं भी आप क्यों ना हो, क्वालिटी की ही वैल्यू होगी और किसी की वैल्यू नहीं होगी. अगर आप क्वालिटी प्रोडक्ट नहीं देंगे तो आपको कोई पूछेगा भी नहीं. वो अलग बात है कि आप चलते रहें धक्काशाही में. इफ़ यू डू नॉट प्रोवाइड योर सर्विसेज टू क्वालिटी रिक्वायरमेंट, इफ़ यू डोंट प्रोड्यूस योर गुड्स टू क्वालिटी रिक्वायरमेंट, if you don't do any product to quality requirement, then there is just no meaning at all, no value for you. Without quality, then that is international standard. If you have to give, in engineering is international in itself. There is no difference in it. You cannot say this is Indian engineering or Bharat engineering, or this is English engineering, or this is American engineering. Engineering is engineering, just like medical science is medical science. So treatments are same way. In engineering, we use international standards. Otherwise, you cannot say whatever work we do, either we copy those standards or we can't produce our own standards. हम दूसरों की कॉपी करके चलाते हैं। मैं तो ये कहूँगा कि ये इंजीनियरिंग में जो भी काम होता है वो इंटरनेशनल है। चाहे आप किसी भी इंजीनियरिंग ब्रांच की बात करें, कंस्ट्रक्शन करें, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करें, प्रोडक्शन करें, वट एवर ब्रांच यू टॉक ऑफ, इट मे बी मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, इट मे बी कंस्ट्रक्शन, इट मे बी प्रोसेसिंग, इट मे बी इंडस्ट्री, or whatever you do, means you have to deal with international values, international standards. You have to use international codes, otherwise cannot that. It's always from beginning to end. You can't say without that. It's not possible. Well, my dear friends, I'm not here just to talk or wasting your time. Just trying. I just like to say means what's required, what's not required, what's good, what's bad. There's a question is Bharat India speaks about Bharat means my country. India is his name. The name is Bharat, and that's why I try to use this common language which is called the language in public communication. And I thought that's better to partly share my thoughts in Hindi and partly in English. Of course, it's not exact translation, but something, it's question of communication. It's question of at least letting you know I'm talking about a person sitting in South should not suffer because I cannot speak. I speak in our language as well as in English language. English I'll give more pressure than Hindi. Hindi just for reference to those people who can't exactly believe in Hindi. There are people who say we should get some information in Hindi also. No problem. I know restriction to myself as far as language is concerned. So I can share my views partly in this language and partly in that language. I don't mind language because language is only communication. It has no other purpose at all. So my dear friends, if I talk in English or I talk in Hindi or sometimes I use some other words also, please don't mind because this is only for communication. And my effort is that my communication should reach to everyone all over the world and particularly everyone in this country, Bharat India. Because when you speak English in some good language, good style, you can say everybody or major part of world would listen to you or read to you if you are so good. Or otherwise, if you keep yourself, no, I have to speak in Hindi or in my language, then you will be confined to certain areas in your country itself. Forget about world. आप अगर अपनी भाषा ऐसी बनाएंगे नहीं मुझे तो इंग्लिश ही बोलनी है, मुझे और कुछ नहीं बोलना, तो शायद आप पूरी दुनिया में बहुत जगह पहुंचेंगे, अपने देश को छोड़ देंगे. लेकिन ऐसा नहीं है. आजकल अपने देश में भी इंग्लिश बहुत चलती है, हर स्टेट में लोग जानते हैं. और मैं ऐसी मुश्किल इंग्लिश भी नहीं बोल रहा हूँ कि आपको बहुत मुश्किल हो समझने में. इसलिए भाषा की इतनी प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. प्रॉब्लम है इनिशिएटिव की प्रॉब्लम, अंडरस्टैंडिंग की प्रॉब्लम है, कोशिश करने की. दैट्स व्हाई आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट रियल क्वालिटी एंड रियल कोऑर्डिनेशन. वास्तविक क्वालिटी क्या है ज़िंदगी में और उसकी कोऑर्डिनेशन क्या है. हर आदमी को सोचना होगा, अपनी नींद से जागना होगा. यू हैव टू कम आउट ऑफ योर स्लीप बिकॉज यू हैव बीन स्लीपिंग सीरियसली. आई एम नॉट सेइंग यू आर स्लीपिंग क्लोजिंग योर eyelids and closing your eyes and sleeping and resting in bed. That is not meaning of my sleep. My sleep says you are not happy with working, you are not serious on working, you are an unserious person and you have to be serious to get something done positively, confirm way. And that's what I'm saying. मैं यही कहता हूँ कि आपको गंभीर बनना होगा. गंभीर नहीं बनेंगे तो आप क्वालिटी पा नहीं सकते, आप मेहनत कर नहीं सकते. अगर आप सोचते रहेंगे, सीखते रहेंगे, आज नहीं कल करूँगा, कल नहीं परसों करूँगा, that tomorrow never comes in. Be very strong. If you want to work, you have to take initiative and you have to lead yourself first. पहले आपको खुद को आगे बढ़ाना होगा. Proactive means you have to lead yourself. You have to tell others what I have to do. आपको दूसरों को बताना होगा कि मैं क्या करना चाहता हूँ. You have to lead others, your friends, your colleagues, your juniors. Sometimes you have to lead your seniors also because seniors too are ignorant. Seniors too, they too are same as you are. After all, seniority doesn't mean everybody is mentally senior. What I'm talking is mentally. आपको मस्तिष्क में सीनियर होना चाहिए. आपकी पोजीशन की कोई वैल्यू नहीं अगर आप मस्तिष्क सीनियर नहीं है, आपकी सोच सीनियर नहीं है. If you can't think in a senior way, if you can't use your mind in a senior way, there exists no meaning at all for that one. And that's why I'm talking with quality and coordination that way. And it's very important for everybody. It may be me, myself, it may be you, for everybody. Quality and coordination should be friend to everyone. Quality, गुणवत्ता और तालमेल सबके दोस्ती होनी चाहिए इससे. If you don't have friendship, you can't be there. For there are two domains I call real quality and other domain is real coordination. एक दुनिया है जहाँ हम गुणवत्ता की बात करते हैं, एक दुनिया में कोऑर्डिनेशन की बात करते हैं. जब दोनों की बातें करते हैं तो बहुत बड़ी बात हो जाती है. If you can do all that, you will find problems, many problems solved. अगर आप क्वालिटी की बात करेंगे, रियल कोऑर्डिनेशन की बात करेंगे, बहुत सी प्रॉब्लम्स आपकी सॉल्व हो जाएंगी खुद ही स्वयं ही। इसलिए हम कह सकते हैं वी आर ऑल फ्रेंड्स टुगेदर फॉर ऑल अदर्स। हम सबके सब दोस्त हैं, हमें क्वालिटी देनी है, डिमांडेड क्वालिटी देनी है। वी हैव टू गिव डिमांडेड क्वालिटी, वी cannot leave that. And if you leave quality, you leave yourself, you cannot get your destiny and nation's destiny. अगर आप गुणवत्ता में विश्वास नहीं रखते हैं, आप गुणवत्ता नहीं देते, गुणवत्ता से काम नहीं करना चाहते, आपकी सर्विस गुणवत्ताकारी नहीं है, आपका प्रोडक्ट गुणवत्ता का, आप कब तक आप चलेंगे आगे? आपको आपकी मंजिल नहीं प्राप्त होगी, आपको राष्ट्रीय वैसा नहीं बना पाएंगे, आपकी राष्ट्रीय की डेस्टिनी नहीं मिल पाएगी जो होनी चाहिए। Your nation shall not be that destined that it should be in your mind or in. It's easy to say that we want to get this, but to get that also you have to work. But what happens? We only declare something, we never worry about that. And that's our ignorance. We can say we are ignorant people, we are careless people. We have to understand that point. You cannot simply announce something and forget that. Automatically it will happen, never happens at all. मीन्स अपने आप में स्वयं कुछ नहीं होता है, ये बेकार की बातें होती है कि हमने अनाउंस तो कर दिया, घोषणा तो कर दी, लेकिन अपने आप काम हो जाएगा, ये लोग अपने आप कर लेंगे। ऐसा सोचने वाले बेवकूफ़ होते हैं। सच थिंकर्स आर इडियट्स, दे कैनॉट इमेजिन एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग अवे। इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल, एंड दैट्स व्हाई आई एम सेइंग इट्स ओनली engineers who can handle all these issues because they are qualified for that, they are experienced for that, they are trained for that. And if you cannot do that, nobody else can do. अगर अभियंता सोसाइटी, अभियंता वर्ग ऐसा नहीं कर सकता है, इक्वालिटी को लाया जाए, कोऑर्डिनेशन को लाया जाए, then there is no meaning of being called an engineer, because if engineer cannot do all this, then that person cannot be entitled engineer. It's different, the certificates are available, but what capacity do we have that to be seen? आपकी क्षमता क्या है वो देखना जरूरी है। उसको जब तक आप देखेंगे स्वयं नहीं तो आप नहीं समझ सकते। Just be engineer in mind. One has to be engineer in mind, not in showing, not in certificate alone, but must think, that way as an engineer. आप इंजीनियर की तरह सोचेंगे नहीं तो कुछ नहीं कर पाएंगे। और इंजीनियर की सोच इतनी ऊंची होती है, बढ़ती जाती है। लेवल ऑफ थिंकिंग ऑफ इंजीनियर सो हाई दैट कीप्स ऑन राइजिंग एवरी डे इन एवरी वर्क, एवरी एक्टिविटी, ऑल ओवर लाइफ. And there's no measurement once you say you have entered engineering field and you work a lot, you think a lot, you do a lot. अब अभियांत्रिक प्रोजेक्ट्स पे कितना सोचते हैं, कितना करते हैं, करते जाते हैं, प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करते जाते हैं, एंड दैट इज़ व्हाट इंजीनियर इज अबाउट. इंजीनियर का मतलब यही होता है. इंजीनियर मीन्स प्रॉब्लम सॉल्वर. इंजीनियर आपके प्रॉब्लम को समझ के सॉल्व करता है. इंजीनियर थिंक्स ऑन, एनालाइज ऑन दैट एंड देन प्रॉब्लम एंड देन डिलीवर्स प्रॉब्लम, एंड दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट. We can say we require to establish both domains personally, we can say permanently. We have to establish these domains of coordination and quality, or else we go nowhere. अगर आप इनको स्थापित नहीं करना चाहते तो आप कहीं भी कहीं नहीं खड़े रह सकते. आज के समय में कोऑर्डिनेशन वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. कोऑर्डिनेशन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन दिस करंट टाइम, बिकॉज विदाउट कोऑर्डिनेशन यू कैन नॉट फाइंड एनी आंसर. You have to coordinate and then find answer. If you coordinate wrongly, you'll find wrong answer. You will, crush something. But if you have an engineering power, you can say that you can find, you can think, you analyze everything, and then say, okay, this is my application onto this problem, and I can solve this problem by this way. And you can solve any whatever coming to the problem. You can say, okay, I got a root, I can solve this problem. Learn for it. मैं इस मुसीबत को, मैं इस झगड़े को सोल्व करना चाहता हूँ, मैं इस समस्या को सुलझाना चाहता हूँ, और उसके लिए मुझे कोऑर्डिनेशन करनी पड़ेगी, तालमेल करना पड़ेगा, तो मैं करूँगा. उसमें क्या गलत है? तालमेल मेरा जॉब है, मेरी ड्यूटी है. क्योंकि विदाउट तालमेल तो बॉडी भी नहीं चलती है. माइंड कहता है क्या करना है, मन कुछ और बात कहता है, पैर कुछ कहते हैं. इसलिए ये कहना कि वहाँ भी कोऑर्डिनेशन की जरूरत तो पड़ती ही है. And that's why we require to establish both domains. हम चाहते हैं हम आपको अपने यहाँ बैठा लें, both domains को, क्वालिटी को और कोऑर्डिनेशन को, and then you have to move forward. Have active quality performance, active quality performing applications, quality sufficiently. That's right. Now, real quality engineering and reliable coordination engineering. What is reliable quality engineering? Real quality engineering is very important. वास्तविक गुणवत्ता अभियांत्रिकी क्या है, इंजीनियरिंग क्या है, क्वालिटी इंजीनियरिंग, कोऑर्डिनेशन इंजीनियरिंग क्या है. दैट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट. हमको रोज बताते हैं. आई ट्राई टू एक्सप्लेन every time, but it doesn't happen at all. And it's very simple in fact. It's only concentration that is required. It's only that how many activities are done same time, and that's important. That's quality. Quality is not something that unknown to you or unknown to me. It's very simple. It's for everybody. Everyone can understand this quality, and that point is really very realistic, and we have to be real. We are not to be imaginary all time. हमें कल्पना की दुनिया में नहीं रहना होगा, हमें कल्पना से बाहर आना होगा, प्रैक्टिकल बनना होगा, व्यवहारिक बनना होगा, हमें सोचना होगा हमें करना है तो क्यों करना है, रीज़न होना चाहिए। इंजीनियरिंग में रीज़न बहुत ज़रूरी होता है। इंजीनियरिंग में रिक्वायरमेंट, व्हाट्स रिक्वायरमेंट, आपकी आवश्यकता क्या है, व्हाट्स प्रॉब्लम, आपकी मुश्किल क्या है, एंड व्हाट्स सॉल्यूशन, आपका सुझाव क्या है, या आपकी आपकी आप कह सकते हैं हल क्या है। उन सबको देन यू हैव टू से हाउ मेनी इश्यूज आर देयर, हाउ मेनी प्रॉब्लम्स, कितनी बातें हैं वहाँ, कितने इश्यूज हैं वहाँ, कितनी बातों को सॉल्व करना है, समझना है। हाउ मेनी टॉक्स, हाउ मेनी रिक्वायरमेंट्स वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड, वी हैव टू सॉल्व देम, एंड दैट्स व्हाट वी नीड टू सॉल्व ईच एंड एवरी रिक्वायरमेंट। यू कैन से ओके आई गॉट आंसर, सब मैंने जो प्रॉब्लम से सॉल्व कर दिया उसको, उसके मुझे आंसर मिल गया और मैं उनको लिंक कर रहा हूँ। लिंक करने के बाद यू कैन से ओके इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ ट्रेन, इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ सर्किट फॉर दिस इशू। ये जो मेरी प्रॉब्लम है, ये जो मेरी एक्टिविटी है या ग्रुप ऑफ एक्टिविटीज, इनको मैं सॉल्व करने के लिए ये तरीके निकाल लिए हैं, एंड आई कैन डू दिस ऑल टाइम इवन इफ देयर इज वेरिएशन। अगर उसमें इधर उधर की भी थोड़ी बात होती है तो मैं उसको अप्लाई करके करेक्ट कर सकता हूँ, एंड दैट्स व्हाट्स कोऑर्डिनेशन अबाउट। जितने भी काम होने हैं वो एक साथ होने चाहिए, उसमें एक भी मिस हो जाएगा तो आप काम पूरा नहीं चलेगा, गाड़ी आपकी चलेगी नहीं। वट एवर एक्टिविटीज आर रिक्वायर्ड, वट एवर वर्क्स आर रिक्वायर्ड, ऑल हैव टू बी completed, all to be carried out same time so that your vehicle moves smoothly. Otherwise your vehicle shall derail or it shall puncture. That's the important point. So real quality engineering, the real coordination engineering approach on all designs, working designs, manufacturing, construction procedures, continuously to do assessment for works, and we have to do it. And it's unfortunate, and I should say unfortunate or foolishness I can say, we are sleeping people. We have to fix real quality in Bharat India. That's all I say. We have to fix real quality in Bharat India. How to do that? Question here. How to do that? How not to do this? That's not. We cannot just say ifs and buts, but we have to do it. In engineering, ifs and buts are very limited. You know, you have to see results, and you have to find results, and you have to apply a formula. You have to find technology. How to do this? You have to find solution method, and you have to do the production method और कंस्ट्रक्शन में तो ऑल दैट वी हैव टू डू एंड हैव टू फिक्स क्वालिटी इन भारत इंडिया। हमारे देश में हम गुणवत्ता को कैसे फिक्स करें, हम तालमेल कैसे बैठाएं, ये सब करना बहुत ज़रूरी है, और हम करते हैं, करते रहे, बहुत उन्हें किया भी है। लेकिन आज की दुनिया चेंज हो चुकी है, आज कोई करना नहीं चाहता। दैट इज इम्पोर्टेंट पॉइंट इन करंट इंडिया, भारत इंडिया। इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू से कम वट में वट एवर हैपन्स, कुछ भी क्यों ना हो जाए, हम माफ़ी नहीं देंगे, आपको क्षमा नहीं देंगे अगर आपने कंसेशन मांगी है, नहीं देंगे। वी शैल नॉट अलाउ यू टू हैव कंसेशन बिकॉज इट ब्रोकन क्वालिटी और बिकॉज वॉट एवर वे। क्वालिटी इज रिक्वायरमेंट, क्वालिटी का आवश्यकता है, जैसे भूख में रोटी की आवश्यकता होती है, इसी क्वालिटी आवश्यकता है काम में। Quality is a requirement, just like you feel hunger and you want food, same way quality is a food of mind, quality is a food of satisfaction, quality is a food of service, quality is a food of, yeah, you are a good person. Quality means you are a good person because you don't want to profit, you don't have to, you have to work for yourself, work for your quality system, work for your nation, because your nation, the quality nation is made by you, made of you, it's not by your own. That's the works quality cannot compromise. No quality can compromise. There's no way we come. हम नहीं चाहते ही ना हम हमें देंगे गुणवत्ता को compromise किया जाए, कि compromise नहीं किया जा सकता। compromise करने का मतलब है अपने आप को गिराना। I don't know to fail myself. I don't accept quality, and quality is required. I know quality and coordination, very very important. No compromise. Please don't ask me for compromise. And because whatever systems we follow as per quality, those systems are not very solid. Those are based fragile, you know. Any time this can break, and that's why we have to protect the system from being broken. And that's the quality system may fail. We can say quality system because we design for ourselves. We don't want to take more and more problem, so we design our way that suits us. But we have to see that it's not me or you, it's someone else. It's that person who's a consumer, who's a product, real requirement maker. You can say that person who consumes your parts, very important to meet. Fragile existing quality system, compliance formality, and its excuse quality system may fail, but works quality must perform, be delivered, whereas it does not happen currently. जहाँ भी हमारा सिस्टम है क्वालिटी का वो टूट सकता है, क्योंकि वो इतना मजबूत नहीं है, उसको चलाने वाले इतने मजबूत नहीं है। हम क्वालिटी सर्टिफिकेट तो ले सकते हैं, लेकिन वो अपने आप तो काम नहीं करेगा, उसको चलाना पड़ता है। और उसको वही चला सकते हैं जो क्वालिटी को बिलीव करते हैं, क्वालिटी को प्रैक्टिस करते हैं। इसलिए प्रोडक्ट अगर क्वालिटी का होगा तो सिस्टम ऑटोमेटिक चलेगा, क्योंकि आपको ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगी। एक्चुअली प्रोडक्ट की क्वालिटी के लिए ही तो सिस्टम बनाया जाता है। वाई वी परफॉर्म सिस्टम, वाई वी produce system, why we design system. It's because we want good product, quality product. And if you get quality product, that's fine. It's okay, fine, we got it, we can say. You have to understand these points very clearly. It's not very difficult, we can understand them, and actually there's no difficulty in understanding. Now we can say, if I want to know where's quality, where is available in our country, अगर हम चाहें कि हमारे देश में क्वालिटी कहाँ पे है, अगर आप चिराग लेके भी ढूंढेंगे तो आपको नहीं मिलेगी. If you think it's dark, completely dark, and it takes some torch with me and go and find quality, where do you exist, my dear friend? Quality, I think you will not find any light anywhere. That's the problem, It generally happened that quality has not been seriously taken by youth today, by industrialists today, by manufacturers today, by those who are involved in construction today. And I every day see that. I understand people don't want to go into details of technical knowledge, technical literature, technical available information, and they just want to do irrespective of it should be done or not done. There is no control, particularly in construction. I'm not very experienced in production or in manufacturing or in other areas where plants are used. But as a construction is concerned, civil engineering, construction, work development, construction, particularly concrete and other items, I can simply say that we don't have quality at all. I get diagnosed, we don't understand quality. Engineers understand, but I think there may be some reason that it's a production only, or you can say people want to be called consultant and we call very, very strong one for whatever commercial reason, but quality does not work. I've seen many works here. I can take names of company, but as I'm talking in general, the quality of construction is very bad. No consideration is made. No temperature consideration is made. What is value of concrete? How does it work? What process we have to follow? How we have to follow? What are requirements of inspections? What are requirements on general? We can say in general. I don't find anything here, and that's what I say. I try to share with you knowledge about concrete because concrete is very, very significant material used in engineering. कंक्रीट सबसे बड़ा मटेरियल यूज़ होता है कंस्ट्रक्शन में. कॉस्ट वाइज मैं नहीं कह रहा, बट क्वांटिटी वाइज, टाइम वाइज, without basis of concrete framing we cannot do anything. That's a true point, that's a valid point, and that's why we have to establish ourselves in that way. I can say there's no answer. I can say, okay, go to this location, you will find quality. I'm not saying it's 100% non-quality, but there may be some people, some organizations who work in quality, but I'm talking about construction or industrial field or engineering field where quality is a must, and without quality there exists no meaning. It may be government, it may be private, it may be whatever. After all, it's for people we are doing. Government, if you are government, doesn't mean you're everything. It is part of nation, like everybody is a part of nation. And quality is part of your mind, quality is part of your soul. Think of your body doesn't work way, it's broken somewhere, how do you feel? Means quality is gone. That's what I say. आपके शरीर में कुछ हो जाए आपको कैसा लगेगा? आपका हाथ टूट जाए, दर्द हो जाए, कुछ और हो जाए, कैसा लगेगा? क्योंकि आपका सिस्टम खराब हो गया. और वही बात लागू होती है. सेम अप्लाइज टू आवर लाइफ इन प्रैक्टिस, in profession, that this has gone down, it's not able to work. And that point we have to keep in mind all the time. It's a very important one. If you can't do that, you can't do anything. And we can say there may be many barricades, there may be many closed routes, there may be many broken routes, which require retrofitting or operation must be selected, must be chosen. And there's no way, if quality is not achieved, you have no value. And it's not only in this country, in many countries I've seen that quality is not achieved. बहुत से देशों में मैंने देखा है क्वालिटी नहीं लेते और हम तो उस पर टॉप पर हैं. We never talk of quality, unfortunately, in public. We never talk of coordination these days. Coordination and you can say, or you say, talk of quality is very significant that way. If we cannot say these red lines, or we can say these non-stop areas where we have to stop because under pressure, and red light is that pressure, and we can say red lines that must be closed down. Those red lines which are available must be repaired if required, and then leave it to people to use that. And that's the important point. Existing red lines to be resolved. Can we bring working environment to quality and coordination requirements? Certain red lines that must be turned green, and that must be a must. Can we know and apply product and work quality standards complied with overseas, for example in other countries like Gulf or Middle East? Can we work on required coordination bearing activities to achieve defined or expected quality profiles on works? Why we should not revisit quality required specifications and update per world working standards requirements? Why should we not apply work relational coordination requirements? Is it not a must reliable solution? Or will we have certainly worsening state of quality of works, and how to improve such mandated works quality to certain minimum required marks, at least to match with minimum international requirements? Should not force ourselves to work on coordination in each activity. Worsening state of quality of concrete, and how to improve such mandated quality to certain minimum required marks. हमें अपने आप को कैसे सुधारना होगा, क्या देखना होगा, या हम दोबारा क्वालिटी की तरफ ना जाएं, कि हम अपने आप को उन लोगों के बराबर, उन देशों के बराबर ना खड़ा करें जहाँ क्वालिटी की गुणवत्ता की वैल्यू होती है, जहाँ उसके बिना काम नहीं हो सकता. हम ऐसा क्यों नहीं कर सकते? हम वो क्वालिटी क्यों नहीं प्राप्त कर सकते? हर फील्ड में, हर एक्टिविटी में हम क्वालिटी को दोबारा क्यों नहीं देख सकते? उसको सुधार क्यों नहीं सकते? इम्प्लीमेंटेबल क्यों नहीं बना सकते? हम कोऑर्डिनेशन क्यों नहीं कर सकते? हम तालमेल क्यों नहीं बिठा सकते? क्या ये सोचने की बात नहीं है? क्या इससे हमको आंसर नहीं मिलेंगे? हमारे देश की जो आज दशा है क्वालिटी की, सबसे गंदी है, मैं कह सकता हूँ, बहुत गंदी. बातों में भी क्वालिटी नहीं है और सिस्टम में भी क्वालिटी नहीं है. कोई भी आप बड़ा काम देखिए, सरकार का हो प्राइवेट, क्वालिटी को मजाक बना के रखा है. वो मजाक जिसका कोई अंत नहीं, कोई इसका एंड नहीं, और हमको ये सुधारना होगा. वी हैव टू retrofit all these weaknesses, all these repairable elements. We have to check and repair them as requirement. हम अपने आप को फोर्स नहीं कर सकते क्या कि हम कोऑर्डिनेट करें हर काम को, जो कि जरूरी है, और नहीं करेंगे तो हम बर्बाद तो होंगे ही. That's what we have to think. And now since I'm talking about concrete, मैं कंक्रीट के बारे में बात कर रहा हूँ, हम लोग फाइल खोलते हैं कंक्रीट की. हम कंटिन्यूस कर रहे थे पिछले कुछ सेशन में, and we have to look into that now. That was we're talking about shaping and assembly of CFRM, which was, we talked of this CFRM, that is fiber, continuous fiber reinforcement, and this was here CFRM. So let me see what was full form of that. Here you can see we looked this was last time, That was, you may say, all these CFRM etc. we discussed, and we said that this very important one. It's all details of CFRM we're talking about corrosion resistant and continuous fiber reinforcing material it was. We're talking about materials, and that is continuous fiber reinforcing materials. We have gone through that. We discuss its properties for rods, and there may be many types of this. We discussed last time. That was resin based and subject to surface damage because fiber resistant resin is generally a synthetic resin. It can be deeply scratched also. We discussed about this, and scope is that this chapter required for construction of concrete using continuous fiber reinforcing materials, and we can say this is CFRM in case of pre-stressed concrete using CFRM standards, and that's what we discussed last time. We'll go further on this, and synchronous couplers we did for precasting and construction handling and storage of material. CFRM should be handled carefully. For example, should be applied with protection to prevent damage to surfaces. Surfaces are very important in cases when CFRM stored outdoors, placing them directly on ground should be avoided. This was last time this all. And of course, shaping and assembly of CRF tendons we discussed on. It is here shaping and assembly of CFRM reinforced. As for refresher light studies, I read this, and that is CFRM continuous fiber reinforcing material. Reinforcement shall be shaped and assembled in a manner that results in shape and dimensions specified in design without damaging material. CFRM reinforcements found to be damaged at surface bent except shaping affected by exposure to high temperature or stored outdoors for long periods. CFRM reinforcements should be bent to shape factory, and that's what we discussed about this material. We'll go to making ducts and other sheets. When marking ducts other than sheets, material and method used for shall be adversely affected by CFRM tendons. And it's commented duct, duct is used to reserve space for tendons. Duct is used to reserve space for tendons. Placement and to insulate tendons from concrete. Duct material must be selected after it is verified not to corrode CFRM tendons or CFRM reinforcement or to decompose concrete. Forming shall not cause cracking in concrete, increase friction remarkably at pre-stressing. नहीं A duct is used to reserve space for tendon placement and to insulate tendons from concrete. Duct material must be selected after it is verified not to corrode CFRM, a tendon, or CFRM reinforcement, or to decompose concrete. Forming shall not cause cracking in concrete, increase friction remarkably at pre-stressing, or damage CFRM tendons. A duct is used to reserve space for tendon placement and to insulate tendon from concrete. जो डक्ट हम रख रहे हैं वो टेंडन्स के लिए रख रहे हैं ताकि एक तो इंसुलेशन हो जाए कंक्रीट से उसकी और टेंडन्स की. इस मटेरियल को हम कैसे सेलेक्ट करेंगे, वेरीफाई करेंगे जिससे कि टेंडन्स हमारे कॉरोड ना हो, कंक्रीट डिकम्पोज ना हो. ये सब करना होगा. रैकिंग ना हो कंक्रीट की, फ्रिक्शन ना बढ़े ज़्यादा. A duct is used to reserve space for tendon placement and to insulate tendons from concrete. Duct material must be selected after it is verified not to corrode CFRM tendon or CFRM reinforcement or to decompose concrete. Forming shall not cause cracking in concrete, increase friction remarkably at pre-stressing, or damage CFRM tendon. Placing sheets and CFRM tendons. Placing sheets, SHEATS. Damaged sheets or sheets having corrosion inside shall not be used. Sheets and CFRM tendons should be placed accurately. Is sheets and CFRM, that is continuous fiber reinforced material, that is CFRM tendons, should be placed accurately and adequately, supported without damaging the material, to ensure that no displacement or deformation is caused by concrete casting. CFRM tendons shall be placed within sheath without being tangled. In cases when pre-tension CFRM tendons are used, CFRM shall be handled in a manner that doesn't cause damage at edges of contact. CFRM tendons and sheaths should be inspected after these are placed. In cases when inadequacies such as damage or an error in placing are found, required corrective action and changes shall be undertaken. Allowable error during placement of CFRM tendons should be determined to within a range that doesn't adversely affect concrete member considering its size. ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. जब हम कर रहे हैं प्रीस्टस मेंबर टेंडन्स लगा रहे हैं कि हम कैसे रखें. हमें पहली बात तो शीट जो डैमेज है, नुकसान हुआ हुआ जिनका, वो नहीं यूज़ करनी है, या जिसमें जंग लग चुका है यूज़ नहीं कर रही हैं. और हमको टेंडन्स को CFRM के सही तरह पे रखना होगा अपनी जगह पे, शीट्स को भी, और सही तरह से सपोर्ट देनी होगी जिससे कि डैमेज ना हो, नुकसान ना हो, डिस्प्लेसमेंट ना हो या फॉर्म चेंज ना हो. हमें शीट के अंदर ही टेंडन्स को रखना होगा CFRM के, और टैंगल नहीं करना होगा. जहाँ पर प्री टेंशन हमने कर रखे हैं टेंडन्स, उसको ढंग से सही तरह से रखना होगा ताकि नुकसान ना हो. उनका बार बार हमको निरीक्षण करना होगा उनके रखने के बाद, ताकि उसमें पता लग जाए कि उसमें कोई कमी है, पेशी है, कोई गलती है, उसको ढूंढ लें और उस पर करेक्टिव एक्शन ठीक करने का कार्य करें। जो भी उसमें हमारी एरर है वो कितनी होनी चाहिए, नहीं होनी चाहिए, उसका हिसाब किताब लगाएं। आना चलते हैं स्टील शीट्स। देखिए हिंदी में थोड़ा दिक्कत तो आएगी। स्टील शीट्स हैविंग corrosion. Steel sheets having corrosion inside shall not be used because this may increase friction at pre-stressing, damage CFRM tendons, or disturb to develop bond. Before use, external surface of a sheet shall be made free of oils, loose rust, and other foreign substances that may disturb adhesion. To prevent damage of CFRM tendons in a sheath, a plastic sheath may be used after its performance is fully verified. यहाँ एक बात आती है, let me repeat, steel sheets, लोहे की sheets having corrosion inside shall not be used because this may increase friction at pre-stressing, damage CFRM tendons, or disturb to develop bond. Before use, external surface of a sheath shall be made free of oils, loose rust, and other foreign substances that may disturb adhesion. Prevent damage of CFRM tendons in a sheath. A plastic sheath may be used after its performance is fully verified. Sheaths and CFRM tendons shall be held securely at comparatively short intervals with appropriate supports, not damaging concrete members, so that concrete weights at concrete placing or vibrations by vibrator shall not misalign positions. Support intervals shall be determined appropriately by considering types and rigidities of CFRM tendon and sheath, and also coefficient of friction. Since CFRM tendons have lower density than steel members, these should be fixed with respect to ascending force also at concrete placing. Pretension may break a continuous fiber tendon placed through an arrangement hole of end frame if tendon is damaged by contact with arrangement hole, tensioning or concrete compaction. It's preferable to prevent CFRM damage tendon from direct contact with frame by using a cushioning material at arrangement hole of edge frame for CFRM tendon. Error in placing or damaging during placement of sheaths or CFRM tendons shall be corrected not only during placement. Sheath and CFRM tendons shall be inspected carefully also during concrete placing, after placement, and corrected if necessary. Allowable error during placing of sheath and CFRM tendons differ depending on member dimensions and tendon placement method. As a rule, it is preferable to keep centroid deviation within 5 mm if cross-sectional dimension of member is less than 1 meter. As a rule, versus allowable error during placing of sheath and CFRM differ depending on member dimensions and tendon placement method. It is preferable to keep centroid deviation within 5 mm if cross-sectional dimension of member is less than 1 meter and within 10 mm besides less than 1/200 of member dimension if cross-sectional dimension of member is 1 meter or more. Deviation over 10 mm shall be corrected in whatever way. Placement of concrete. Placement of concrete. Concrete shall be placed and compacted, taking care that placement of CFRM reinforcing steel bars, encourages sheets, etc. is not disturbed, and no damage occurs to CFRM. In cases when steam curing is carried out, tensile force and temperature of curing shall be determined considering thermal behavior of CFRM anchorages couplers. Concrete placing must be done with care because it may disturb not only placement of CFRM reinforcing bars and frames, but also placement of anchors and sheaths for precast concrete. It should also be noted that CFRM migrate easily due to ascending forces because these are more lightweight and less rigid. In case placement of CFRM reinforcing bars, anchors and sheaths is disturbed, an iron worker should be present even during concrete placing. CFRM may be damaged by direct contact with internal vibrator. To prevent this damage, an internal vibrator with urethane or a similar cushioning material is preferable. Coefficient of thermal expansion. Coefficient of thermal expansion in axial direction. Coefficient of thermal expansion in axial direction of CFRM differs depending on fiber type. All fibers except glass fiber show very different coefficients. All fibers except glass fiber show very different coefficients from that of concrete. Coefficient of carbon fiber is almost zero. You can say coefficient of carbon fiber is almost zero. That is, it says all fibers except glass fiber show very different coefficient from that of concrete. Coefficient of carbon fiber is almost zero, but coefficient of aramid fiber indicates an opposite property to concrete. That's aramid. For steam curing of a pre-tension member using a tendon, initial tension must be determined by considering temperature history. Temperature correction is necessary even for post-tension methods. In cases when hydration heat of concrete is remaining, this regulation was prescribed because some CFRM and their anchors, couplers and sheaths are subject to quality changes of materials at steam curing temperature. Increase in relaxation and decrease in adhesion. Increase in relaxation and decrease in adhesion strength must be noted for CFRM, especially at high temperatures. For steam curing, heating shall be started 3 hours or more after concrete placing, and temperature rise shall generally be 15 degrees Celsius or less per hour. Temperature during curing shall be 65 degrees Celsius or less and shall not adversely affect quality of CFRM until anchors and couplers. Repeat, I say for steam curing of pre-tension member, using a tendon, initial tension must be determined by considering temperature history. Temperature correction is necessary even for post-tension method. In case when hydration heat of concrete is remaining, this regulation was prescribed because some CFRM and respective anchors, couplers and sheaths are subject to quality changes of materials at steam curing temperature. Increase in relaxation and decrease in adhesion strength must be noted for CFRM. especially at high temperature. For steam curing, heating shall be started 3 hours or more after concrete placing, and the temperature rise shall generally be 15 degrees Celsius or less per hour. Temperature during curing shall be 65 degrees Celsius or less, and shall not adversely affect quality of CFRM and respective anchors and couplers. Pre-stressing. Pre-stressing required tensile force for CFRM. Required tensile force for CFRM. Method of pre-stressing, preventive measure against emergency situations. During pre-stressing, calibration of tensioning equipment, required compressive strength of concrete. For pre-stressing and control of pre-stressing should be determined per relevant methods. Coefficient of friction and apparent modulus of elasticity of CFRM for control of pre-stressing should be determined by testing at site. Coefficient of friction of tensioning apparatus. Coefficient of friction of tensioning apparatus. Coefficient of friction of tensioning apparatus and anchorage should be determined by testing. Pre-stressing tendon shall be tensioned and anchored in a manner that each of CFRM is tensioned to required level. Tension shall be prescribed when using a process prescribed in data section of draft of design and execution guide for structure made with concrete using continuous fiber reinforcement materials. Contract control method prescribed for process must be used. Control method prescribed for process must be used. Since CFRM tendons shows more elongation than a PC steel member to same tension force, it may be necessary to reposition jack or use a jack with longer stroke. Since the CFRM, then it says we are talking about tension, I'm using a process prescribed in data section, draft and design execution guide, structure made with concrete using continuous fiber reinforcing materials. Control method prescribed for this process must be used. Since the CFRM tendon shows more elongation than PC steel member to same tension force, it may be necessary to reposition jack or use a jack with a longer stroke. Coefficient of friction and apparent Young's modulus must be measured at initiation of works. What you do? Young's modulus and coefficient of friction you have to measure at initiation of works, and again if trouble found during control. Tensional batter be controlled with measured coefficient of friction, mu. Allowable standard limit of mu given is for PC steel members. For CRFM tendon, it's necessary to determine allowable standard limit of mu in same way as for PC steel members. Pre-concrete, precast steel member, or CFRM tendon shows a linear strain curve with no yielding, and its ultimate strain is smaller than that of PC steel member. Since CFRM tendon has a property of greater strength, decreased by bending. Since CFRM tendon has a property of great strength, decreased by bending, tensioning of CFRM tendons and anchorage must be carried out carefully to avoid brittle failure. Tensioning section length of CFRM tendon should be made. Tensioning length, section length of CFRM tendons should be made uniform from beginning, and elongation of each CFRM tendon at tensioning must be controlled more strictly than when a tension is given to a PC steel member. At tensioning of a CFRM tendon, tensioning of a CFRM tendon, tension should be increased not quickly but gradually. When a CFRM tendon is fixed on an anchor, slippage may become greater than for PC steel member. Because of small tensile rigidity, however, decrease of tensile force attributable to slippage at anchorage generally becomes small. Inspection of acceptance of materials. Inspection for acceptance of materials. Accepting means engineer or accepting party shall be held responsible for conducting acceptance test for CFRM. Assist inspection for acceptance of CFRM. The item, then testing method, inspection method, then period, frequency, and criteria for judgment. Item is quality item and is verification based on test records prepared by manufacturer, and period or frequency on acceptance and shall conform to something. Now, conducting acceptance tests for anchorages and couplers for continuous fiber and reinforcing materials, tendon shall be responsibility of accepting party or engineer. Inspection should be conducted for anchorage or coupler in combination with CFRM tendon in accordance with this table. Note that inspection may be avoided for materials of quality assured. Now we say inspection for acceptance of anchorage couplers. Here's item, then testing method, period, frequency, and criteria for judgment. Now tensile strength or load and anchorages and couplers. Method is verification based on test records prepared by manufacturer, and period frequencies on acceptance. Inspections may be eliminated. Inspections may be eliminated for those of guaranteed quality and with good track records. Anchorages or couplers should conform to standards to achieve anchorage couplers should conform to standards to achieve a designated objective. For instance, of fatigue strength verification based on test records prepared by manufacturer, and same way on acceptance and same way of criteria. Anchorage or couplers should conform to standards to achieve designated objectives. Relaxation value verification based on test records prepared by manufacturer or testing of a system incorporating anchorage coupler using method. And we can say relaxation value. So commentary is accepting party or engineer held responsible for conducting tests means honor. Generally, however, contractor constructing concrete using CFRM conducts tests and honor confirms test results. In terms of mechanical properties, durability and handling method, CFRM generally differs greatly from steel members. In terms of mechanical properties, durability, and handling method. CFRM differs greatly from steel members. This must be kept in mind for appropriate inspection. Performance requirements and inspection details. Performance requirements and inspection details for reinforced or pre-stressed concrete using CFRM are similar to those using ordinary reinforcing materials. What it says, this must be kept in mind for appropriate inspection. Performance requirements and inspection details for reinforced or pre-stressed concrete using CFRM are similar to those using ordinary reinforced material. Acceptance tests shall therefore be conducted in accordance with construction standards. Mechanical properties of CFRM tendons are greatly affected by performance of anchorages and couplers. Whether type is single or multiple, general system performance tends to be lower than that of CFRM tendon itself. Whether type is single or multiple, general system performance tends to be lower than that of CFRM tendon itself. When using CFRM tendons, therefore, say entire system, including anchorages and couplers, shall be tested with respect to items that seemingly affect CFRM tendons to verify performance. Shape, performance, and state of use of anchorages or couplers differ greatly depending on model of anchorages or couplers, type of CFRM tendon. It is necessary to determine an appropriate test that can reproduce state of use and tensile force affecting state. This test shall verify that anchorages and couplers have structures and strengths not to be fractured or remarkably deformed under each proof tensile load, or less, and that they have prescribed fixing efficiency and coupling efficiency for CFRM tendon. Depending on type of anchorages and couplers, it is also important to check that set loss due to tendon slippages is within allowable limits. Furthermore, given that continuous fiber reinforced concrete structures are often located in the extreme environments, and steel anchorages and couplers must be you can say confirmed to be sufficiently durable. This test may be omitted if CFRM tendon has verified quality and anchorages and couplers are given in data section of draft of design and execution guide for structure made with concrete using continuous fiber reinforcing materials exclusively for CFRM tendon, and has showed quality and history of use inspections for protection of CFRM. Inspection for CFRM, inspection protection of CFRM. Engineers shall be held responsible for conducting inspection for protection of CFRM test in cases when from results of inspection, protection and CFRM is determined, the inadequate method of protection shall be appropriately modified. Inspection for protection of CFRM, item, method for testing and inspection, period, frequency, criteria for judgment. Item is method of storage, method of transportation, method of fixing, Method of concrete placing. These are visual observations. And periods at time of acceptance, that is method of storage. At time of acceptance, method of transportation. At time of transportation, and method of fixing is prior to placing concrete, and method of concrete placing during concrete placing. And criteria for judgment is per document giving details of construction plan. At each stage of work, CFRM shall be inspected to verify that these are protected from damage as prescribed in plan. Inspection of concrete must refer to materials and construction. Short fiber reinforced concrete. This is a chapter, short fiber reinforced concrete. The scope is standards for presentation of standards of necessary matters concerning quality and construction of short fiber reinforced concrete. Short fibers to be discussed in this chapter: steel fibers and synthetic fibers. Steel fibers and synthetic fibers. Short fiber. Short fiber reinforced concrete is a composite material with tensile strength, flexural strength, cracking resistance, ductility, shear strength, and impact resistance. Impact resistance enhanced by uniformly distributing discontinuous. Short fiber reinforced concrete is a composite material with tensile strength, flexural strength, cracking resistance, ductility, shear strength, and impact resistance enhanced by uniformly distributing discontinuous short fibers in concrete. Fibers used for short fiber reinforced concrete include metal fibers such as steel and stainless fibers. Stainless fibers, inorganic fibers such as glass, inorganic fibers such as glass, carbon, and ceramic fibers. Glass, ceramic fibers, and synthetic fibers such as aramid, nylon, polyvinyl alcohol, polyethylene, and polypropylene. Very important line. Fibers used for short fiber reinforced concrete include metal fibers, such as steel and stainless fibers. This is steel and stainless fibers, that's metallic. Or inorganic fibers, is glass, carbon and ceramic fibers. And synthetic fibers such as aramid, nylon, polyvinyl alcohol, and polyethylene and polypropylene. We discuss steel and synthetic fibers. You can say, synthetic fibers, steel and synthetic fibers, as they have good track records when using carbon and other fibers. So this chapter should be consulted while consulting characteristics and records of respective fibers. Steel fiber reinforced concrete has been applied not only in non-structural members but also in structural members of various structures because it provides generally greatly improved mechanical properties. Steel fiber reinforced concrete is highly resistant to cracking openings. Steel fiber reinforced concrete is highly resistant to crack openings. Using steel fibers, reinforced concrete for unreinforced concrete reduces crack width and enhances fatigue strength. Content of steel fiber increases, thickness of pavement or tunnel lining can be reduced. Resistance to freezing and thawing action and durability can also be improved. Using steel fiber reinforced concrete for reinforced concrete increases strength, shear strength of members. Steel fibers reinforced concrete is therefore effective for structures that require particularly high shear strength, high toughness against compression during compressive failure, and against bending during flexural failure. Means high resistance to impact or explosive loads, high toughness against compression during compressive force failure, and against bending during flexural failure means high resistance to impact of explosive loads. These characteristics we can say now we say steel fibers has been applied not only in non-structural members but also in structural members of various structures. It's because it provides greatly improved mechanical properties. Steel fiber reinforced concrete is highly resistant to crack opening. Using steel fiber reinforced concrete for unreinforced concrete reduces crack width and enhances fatigue strength. As content of steel fibers increases, therefore thickness of pavement or tunnel lining can be reduced. Resistance to freezing and thawing action and durability can also be improved. Using steel fiber reinforced concrete for reinforced concrete increases shear strength of members. Steel fiber reinforced concrete is therefore effective for structures that require particularly high strength, shear strength, high toughness against the compression during compressive failure, and against bending during flexural failure. Means high resistance to impact or explosive loads. Above characteristics of steel fiber reinforced concrete are determined by shape, dimension, content, orientation, and dispersion of steel fibers in concrete. What's that? Shape, dimensions, content, orientation, and dispersion of steel fibers in concrete. The quality of steel fibers should be verified in testing before use. Steel fibers with a length of 20 to 60 mm, diameter of 0.3 to 0.9 mm, 20 to 60 mm, diameter of 0.3 to 0.9 mm, and aspect ratio, that is diameter length ratio of 30 to 100. Hmm. 30 to 100 are generally used. 30 to 100 are generally used. Percentage of steel fiber in concrete. Ranges from 0.5 to 2%. Which is equivalent to a unit quantity of approximately 40 to 160 kg per cubic meter. 40 to 160 kg per cubic meter. To 160 kg per cubic meter. When constructing steel fiber reinforced concrete, recommendations for design and construction of steel fiber reinforced concrete and recommendations for design of steel fiber reinforced concrete column members should be consulted. For shotcrete using steel fibers. Okay, then you have to see the one. Ultra high strength fiber reinforced concrete has recently been put to practical use. That is ultra high strength fiber reinforcement concrete use that has a characteristic value of compressive strength of 150 newtons per millimeter square or high owing to the use of extremely fine powder like silica fumes, having to use of fine powder like silica fumes and has high cracking strength and tensile strength. The minimum of steel fiber of approximately 2%. Steel fibers with a length of 10 to 20 mm, diameter 0.1 to 0.25 mm, unlike conventional steel fibers, are now being used for super high strength fibers reinforced concrete. Okay, we have to refer to now. You can go through this for a couple of minutes and I'll be back. Just an interesting chapter is this. If this continues, I hope you enjoy this some specific talk. So I said synthetic fibers we're talking of. Synthetic fibers we're talking of, and it is as usual, some time late. Synthetic fibers are generally inferior to steel fibers in terms of mechanical reinforcement. Former are, however, difficult to corrode, of course, and can be easily shaped. This is synthetic fibers are difficult to corrode and can be easily shaped. During manufacturing, low density and can be deformed easily, facilitating construction. Short fiber reinforced concrete using synthetic fibers as you can say, using synthetic fibers as that using steel fibers sees its toughness. Short fiber reinforced concrete using synthetic fibers as that using steel fibers sees its toughness against bending and other mechanical properties enhanced with increase of percentage of short fibers. Internal lining concrete. Synthetic fibers with a length similar to that of ordinary steel fibers are used. Internals lining concrete. Internals lining concrete lining synthetic fibers with a length similar to that of ordinary steel fibers are used, as well as steel fibers. Recently, small quantities of synthetic fibers are mixed to reduce plastic shrinkage, prevent cracking due to drying shrinkage and concrete spalling, and prevent explosion during fire, rather than to improve mechanical characteristics in numerous cases. That is what it says, concrete spalling and prevent explosion during fire rather than to improve mechanical characteristics in numerous cases. For these applications, synthetic fibers with a length of 10 to 20 mm and diameter of 0.02 to 0.3 mm are frequently used. Frequently uses what says about this, that is for these applications, synthetic fibers with a length of 10 to 20 mm and diameter of 0.02 to 0.03 mm 0.0 to 0.3 mm frequently used. Length is shorter and diameter is smaller than steel fibers. Synthetic fibers come in a large number of types with the aspect ratio between 40 and 700. 40 and 700, that's aspect ratio. Percentage of short fibers in concrete varies with objective of use. Percentage of 0.04 to 0.1% for preventing concrete from spalling from viaducts, 0.2 to 0.3% for preventing explosion of high strength concrete, or more than 0.3% for controlling cracking of tunnel lining concrete. Synthetic fibers have a low density. Quantity used per unit volume of concrete is 0.3 to 5 kg per meter cube only. Characteristics of short fiber reinforced concrete vary according to shape, dimension and percentage of synthetic fiber. Quality and effect of synthetic fiber to be used should be verified in testing before used. Mixing approximately 2% of high strength synthetic fiber such as polyvinyl alcohol, polyvinyl PVA, mixing approximately 2% of high strength synthetic fiber, namely PVA, polyvinyl alcohol fiber, and high strength polyethylene fiber, enables production of short fiber reinforced mortar with high mechanical properties, which is proposed as ductile material with multiple fine and high density cracks. Ductile material with multiple fine and high density cracks. When using ductile materials, refer to recommendations for design and construction high performance fiber reinforced cement composites with multiple fine cracks. When using short fiber reinforced concrete, materials of proven quality shall be employed. When using short fiber reinforced concrete, materials of proven quality shall be employed. Mixed proportions shall be determined to meet designated performance requirements, and concrete shall be manufactured and constructed properly. Inspection shall be conducted as required. It says when using short fiber reinforced concrete, materials of proven quality shall be employed. Mixed proportions shall be determined to meet designated performance requirements, and concrete shall be manufactured and constructed properly. Inspections shall be conducted requirement in each phase. To obtain designated quality of short fiber reinforced concrete, short fiber should in principle be dispersed evenly. Quality is greatly influenced by length, shape, and percentage of short fiber, maximum size of coarse aggregate, water cement ratio, percentage of fine aggregate, mixing method, compaction method, and other factors. These parameters therefore be fully examined before construction. Quality of short fiber reinforced concrete. Short fiber reinforced concrete shall have designated strength, toughness, durability, cracking resistance, and workability, and be of uniform quality. In cases where short fibers are not uniformly distributed or oriented in a specific direction, designated strength or toughness may not be achieved. Tensile strength, flexural strength, shear strength, and toughness increase nearly in proportion to percentage of short fibers in concrete. Compressive strength, however, does not change greatly. Steel fiber reinforced concrete and short fiber reinforced concrete with a relatively large quantity of synthetic fibers gradually fail while maintaining a certain level of ductility. It says steel fiber reinforced concrete and short fiber reinforced concrete with a relatively large quantity of synthetic fibers gradually fail while maintaining a certain level of ductility even after cracking occurs. Brittleness of concrete is improved. Considerably, and toughness is increased greatly. In cases where steel reinforced concrete is used in reinforced concrete structures, cracking seldom occurs. And electrical resistance varies. It has been reported that corrosion of reinforcement is controlled even under severe conditions in a marine environment. Strength properties. Compressive strength. Compressive strength of short fiber reinforced concrete shall be determined in accordance with this. Compressive strength of concrete increases marginally due to addition of short fibers to concrete. Compressive strength shall be specified in a manner similar to normal concrete. Probability of not attaining design characteristic compressive strength should be less than 5%. Probability of not attaining design characteristic compressive strength should be less than 5% when tests are carried out in accordance. However, it's noted that coefficient of variation of compressive strength of short fiber reinforced concrete may be equal to that of normal concrete. The probability of not attaining design characteristics compressive strength should be less than 5% when tests are carried out in accordance with this pair of tests for compressive strength of concrete. It's noted that coefficient of variation of compressive strength of short fiber reinforced concrete may be equal to that of normal concrete. Tensile strength of short fiber reinforced concrete shall be determined in accordance with this. Though it's desirable that tensile strength be determined by direct tension tests, an accurate test method using a general purpose test apparatus is not yet to be established. Thus, tensile strength of short fiber reinforced concrete shall normally be determined using method of test for splitting tensile strength of concrete. In this case, strength at first crack may be taken as tensile strength. Tensile strength should be specified in a manner that probability of failure at a value lower than characteristic value of tensile strength is less than 5%. Flexural strength of short fiber reinforced concrete should consider size effects as standard. Due to significant size depends, it's difficult to think of flexural strength as an index for characterization of material properties of short fiber reinforced concrete. However, on basis of full-scale testing, experimental value can be taken as characteristic value for actual structure. In general, flexural strength is generally determined in accordance with test method of flexural strength. Deformation characteristics. Deformation characteristics under compression. Stress strain curve of short fiber reinforced concrete should be determined by method in accordance with this. Stress strain curve of short fiber reinforced concrete may be assumed using reliable data. Says, as in case of normal concrete, stress strain curve of short fiber reinforced concrete also varies widely depending on type and age of concrete. State of stress of concrete and rate and path of loading. However, inclusion of fibers scarcely affects compressive strength and deformation characteristics in compression, as long as applied load is less than compressive strength. Now, according to specifications, test method for static modulus plasticity of concrete for determination of stress strain curve and deformation properties of short fiber reinforced concrete in compression. As a graph, that is example of compression test results, and his zero, this compression strain is 0.01, 0.02, 0.03. Compressive stress is 10, 20, 30, 40 Newton per meter square. Now this is normal concrete, goes like this, you can say it comes down here. I mean, strain increases up to here, it's okay. When strain increases, it goes down, its compressive stress goes down. And in case of steel fiber reinforced concrete, up to here, the little increase, proportionally means stress. This is, Stress is increased, of course, here. Steel fiber reinforced concrete goes here. But at this point, higher strain, it is same here, means higher strain opposite day, so that's what's obvious. And compressive strain. Inclusion of short fibers is, however, known to improve the deformation characteristics of concrete after peak load. In case of synthetic fiber, improvement of deformation characteristic depends on fiber content significantly, and much fiber content improves deformation characteristics of concrete after peak load. When high accuracy is required in calculations of stresses, a stress strain curve representing actual conditions should be used. In such cases, compression softening should be taken into consideration. Tension softening properties. Tension softening properties. Tension softening properties of short fiber reinforced concrete should be determined by results of direct tension tests or flexure tests using test specimen. Tension softening curve of short fiber reinforced concrete may be specified using a linear or some other suitable model based on reliable data. Since short fibers transfer stress after cracking, effect of short fiber reinforced concrete on tensile fracture property remarkably appears in tension softening curve, which shows relationship between tensile stress and crack width. In case when tension softening property of short fiber reinforced concrete needs to be specified, for example, in case of columns, it may be specified using a tension softening curve. Though direct tensile test can be carried out to determine tension softening curve, it shall be required to have a highly rigid testing machine completed with precise displacement control. In certain cases, it may be impossible to apply the method of verification for short fiber reinforced concrete. Tension softening curve may be calculated from flexural test results, while recommending determination of curve based on tests under direct tension. Several methods of estimating a tension softening curve on basis of flexure test results have been proposed. Says okay, recommendations now. Let me see what time we have. Here is now a few minutes more, I think. Yes, that was it. Tension softening curve of short fiber reinforced concrete generally shows a reduction in stress immediately after cracking. Tension softening curve of short fiber reinforced concrete generally shows a reduction in stress immediately after cracking. Softening behavior after cracking has been known to depend on type, shape, and content of short fibers. Tension softening curve of short fiber reinforced concrete may be specified using a linear or some other suitable model. Depending upon application, a tension softening curve obtained from direct tension tests can be divided into two zones. One is region immediately after cracking, where stress abruptly decreases, and other is region where stress decreases slowly as crack width increases. Area under tension softening curve fracture energy represents resistance of concrete to cracking. A typical tension softening curve is shown. This curve is quoted from design recommendations of concrete columns reinforced with steel bars. For short fiber reinforcing concrete with synthetic fiber content significantly depends on application. Tension softening properties of concrete is dramatically improved with increasing the fiber content. As a curve, typical tension softening curve, you can say crack is increasing, here is tensile strength. Of course, it's more when crack width is less. As you can see, crack width is increased. It troughs. Yeah, you see, it's the tension, crack width, and that's what's important to be understood. Purpose of talk is about it's very important to understand concrete, because without understanding concrete we cannot do anything. We cannot do anything, and it's very much required. It's very much required, because if we can understand concrete very well, we can do so much in that. For example, fiber reinforced concrete is very important, shield shots very important, high density concrete is very important, which can be used in nuclear reactors. So in other locations I have to understand these facts. We cannot simply say anything. For example, this concrete curve is there, and we have many other points like that. Next time when you see typical specified tension softening curve, we'll look into these points very deeply and see how does it work. I don't run very fast because it's technical file and we have to be very specific about this. Again, I say my email ID is suraj_engineer@yahoo.co.uk, suraj_engineer@yahoo.co.uk, and here's my files, other files, concrete file. Because I started late today, I like to close it early, yes, only 2 hours, so I like to take your leave today because of electrical problem and so many other issues are here which we have to see into this. And let me finish 2 minutes. And it's very important point for concrete to understand why it does how it does. And if you understand concrete, you can do a lot in that. That's an important point, very important point to understand that. This file specifications, I think, are important for everybody. We should respect this. Please remember, this is page 344 of this file. I hope you will get interest in this particularly very important one. It's very important one. I'll take leave now. We'll see. Thank you very much.